Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new Netflix series review, and today we're discussing one of my favorite shows. I am so excited to be talking about it. It is the Emmy-winning, the adult animated anthology series by the name of Love, Death, and Robots. Today we're talking Volume 2, which first and foremost, I want to thank Love, Death, and Robots for inviting me to the virtual screening. I got to see it a week ahead of its premiere day, which is May 14th on Netflix. This is going to be a fun review, guys. I will be talking about each episode. I'm going to be very vague about the premise. I won't get into spoilers, how things ends, but I'm going to talk about the episodes, what worked for me in the episodes, talk about the animation, the story. Was it a love story or more robots or death story? And then by the end of this video, I'm going to be breaking down my top 5 episodes for Volume 2. And then also, I'm going to go ahead and compare the two, which they're both fantastic, but which one did I prefer more, Volume 1 or Volume 2? We're going to talk about it all here in this review, but before we dive into it, make sure you're following me on all my other social media accounts. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. That way you can get the alert when I drop new content. It would mean the world to me if you all can like and share this review. It helps out the channel a lot, but also appreciate all the support. And for all my Love, Death, and Robots fans out there, let's discuss it all in the comments. Let me know, number one, your thoughts on Volume 1. I did review it on my channel 2 years ago. It was one of my favorite shows that year. It's one of my favorite shows. I was just so excited for Volume 2, which brings me to my next question in the comments. What was your hype level? What was your anticipation level for Volume 2? And of course, once you've seen it on May 14th on Netflix, what'd you think? Let me know your pros, your cons. What were your favorite episodes, your favorite characters, your favorite animated studio? And of course, which one did you prefer more? Volume 1, Volume 2? Let's discuss it all in the comments below. So again, thank you so much, Love, Death, and Robots, for allowing me to check it out early. I am so excited to be talking about the series. I will say up front, this might be a little bit of a bummer, but it is only 8 episodes, which was a little bit unfortunate. But I will say this was definitely a quality over quantity situation. We know we got 18 episodes in Volume 1, but on the bright side, Volume 3 is right around the corner. In 2020, they will be releasing the second or the third volume, which will consist of 8 episodes. So I will just say that it is only 8 episodes, but they were great, guys. And again, I'm going to go ahead and give you all just a brief synopsis of each episode, give you my pros, my thoughts on the animation, and then by the end of the video, I'm going to rank my top 5 and give you my thoughts on which one I prefer more, Volume 1, Volume 2. So let's kick things off now. The way that they gave us the episodes may be different from how they release on Netflix. So for me, episode 1 was titled Automated Customer Service, which was a comedy episode and definitely dives more into the robots elements of this series. And this reminded me, if you all remember from Volume 1, the comedic sensibilities of 3 Robots story. This kind of reminded me it could be in that same universe, how, you know, humans rely so much on technology. We can all relate to that in reality. And we see this vacuum bot kind of have a malfunction, and in the malfunction, it wants to kill its owner and also the owner's pet, which once you dive into pets, you're gonna get me because I'm a pet owner myself. So I really enjoyed this episode. Again, if it is the first one that you all see on May 14th, I think it was a great way to kind of bring you back into the universe, bring you back to that great animation. The animation in this one was fantastic. The comedy really worked. It's about 7 minutes long, but I thought it was a great way to kind of reintroduce us into this fantastic world. So again, if it is episode 1 for you all, or if it's episode 6, let me know your thoughts on episode 1, which was titled Automated Customer Service. I really enjoyed that particular episode. But going into which was episode 2 for us, which was titled Ice. This one looked like Zima Blue, which is one of my favorite ones for Volume 1. The animation in Ice was fantastic. Now, this one was pretty short. It's about 7-8 minutes long, and I'll just say in regards to the premise, we have this group of people that are thrill seekers that are looking for frost whales, and when you see these frost whales, you saw it in the trailer, it's absolutely stunning, guys. Again, the animation reminded me so much of Zima Blue, and then the style and the substance and the motion of the characters and the background and the foreground. It was just so beautiful to look at. It's one of my, as far as visually speaking, it's one of my favorite visuals that I've seen in this entire series so far. So let me know what you guys thought of Ice once you've seen it. Moving on to episode 3, which, spoiler alert, it will be making my top 5. And my episode 3 was titled Pop Squad, which also could be called Population Squad. This one was a sci-fi. This dives more into the death elements of Love, Death, and Robots. This one is made by Blur Studios. I love this one because this is in the vein of one of my favorite sci-fi films of all time, Blade Runner, and Blade Runner 2049 is my favorite sci-fi film of all time. This is a story that dives into immortality, and the question gets brought up, would you want to live forever or would you want to reproduce and have family, and what life means to you? This one was so fantastic. It involves death, like I said, some really dark moments. I said it reminded me of Blade Runner. They could have called this Baby Runner because there are some dark moments involving kids and people, involvement in kids. And if you have kids, you're looked at a certain way. So I really enjoyed the conversation had. Again, the idea of immortality and what that means to people, what life means to people. And again, Blur Studios, chef's kiss. The animation was perfect in Pop Squad. So that was episode 3 for me. Let me know your thoughts on that once you have seen it. Moving to episode 4, which was another Blur Studios. This one was great. This one went by the title of Snow in the Desert. This one gave me shades of kind of Mad Max meets Terminator. It's 15 minutes long. It's a sci-fi action story that could have taken place. I can't remember the name. I believe it was like Beyond the Aquatic Shift or Raft, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been in that same universe as far as visually speaking. But long story short, we meet this character Snow, who is, let's just say he's enhanced. This story involves bounty hunters. It involves love. It involves death. It involves incredible visuals. The scenery was beautiful. The creatures were incredible. The hand-to-hand combat. There's action in this particular episode. There is a DC lookalike character in this episode. There's androids involved, and like I said, this not only involves death, but it also involves love. And this was, like I said, a 15-minute just incredible story. The animation, I can't stress enough how beautiful this particular story looked. And again, spoiler alert, this will be making my list when we get to that point. But I absolutely love Snow in the Desert. But let me know your thoughts on that particular story. On to our episode 5 for us, which was titled The Tall Grass. Now, this one is in the vein of reminding me of Polar Express meets Walking Dead, the Telltale story. Now, this is brought to us by Axis Studios. It's about 9 minutes long, and this had the same type of animation style. If you all remember the Fish Night from Volume 1, which I absolutely love that animation, but it kind of dives into the idea of what happens later at night, right? We have the premise of this gentleman who's on the train. The train gets derailed, has to work some things out temporarily. He goes off into the grass, which is, for my Stephen King fans out there, is that one of the title of his books is called Into the Tall Grass, and it's also a movie on Netflix from a couple years ago. But he takes a smoke break. He goes out in this grass, and I'll just say he comes across some things that might be from another world, which goes back to my comparison to Fish Night. Again, if you all remember that story, the gentleman who cargoes, he has to, fix his tire. Very similar to this story. They have to fix the train, and he comes across some interesting things at night, and the same thing happens in this story. And this one definitely kind of plays more into the horror vibes of this particular season in regards to love, death, and robots. This one kind of plays more into the death elements, and I'll just kind of leave it at that because these things that are from another world can definitely be very deadly. I really enjoyed that one. Being a horror fan myself, being a Stephen King fan, it really kind of spoke to me. So let me know what you all thought of The Tall Grass once you've seen it. Moving on to episode 6 for me, which was titled All Through the House, which was a Christmas episode. It's about 6 minutes long, and this one may or may not be one of my favorites on my list. Again, this is a horror story, but it's also comedy, but definitely more horror than comedy. I'll just say you have kids that are waiting to see Santa. It's Christmas, right? So the whole theme when we were kids, we would always go downstairs and sneak and see if we can see Santa Claus, aka our parents, right? But these kids, they get a glimpse of Santa. And let's just say Santa isn't what they imagine, ladies and gentlemen. And when you see Santa, it gave me shades of Jurassic Park. It gave me shades of Alien, an Alien moment, I should say. And I don't know how they were able to accomplish this in 6 minutes, but this episode was not only adorable, it was also terrifying, all in the same scene. This one was brought to us by Blink Industries, and this one was fantastic. This is kind of like Krampus, again, Alien, Jurassic Park, fantastic. I don't want to speak too much on it because it's a big surprise when you see what Santa looks like in this world, but I really enjoyed All Through the House. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. On to episode 7 for me, which was titled Life Hitch, which stars a particular movie star. If you all saw the trailer, you know who I'm talking about, but this one kind of reminded me, this could have been in the same world as Lucky 13 from Volume 1. This one looks so realistic. It was probably the most realistic animation that I've seen in this entire series. It was so crisp, it's so beautiful. Of course, it's brought to us by Blur Studio. It was about 11 minutes long. It's a sci-fi action, and we essentially have this character who is on a mission. You get some flashbacks. We see him in a current timeline. He goes on this planet. He comes across, this one plays into the robot element in Love, Death, and Robot, because he has to face this kind of dog robot. And let's just say you see some pretty interesting things about him fighting this dog robot. And it's definitely a story about man versus machine. Again, the animation was fantastic. The brutality of that death robot and kind of seeing this big movie star handle this dog robot was fantastic. So again, that one was called Life Hitch, starring a pretty big star, and he looked like he was in that particular episode. That's how realistic the graphics were for that episode. I really enjoyed that one, but let me know your thoughts on Life Hitch. And last but not least, episode 8 for us, which was titled Drown Giant. Now, let's just say a giant was found on a beach, and this one kind of plays in the vein of just kind of a life episode. This one kind of dives into, I guess, the love. There really isn't a robot, and there is a death involved in this episode, but this kind of dives deep into what I love about this show as a whole. It talks about life. It talks about curiosity. It talks about the beyond life and this kind of the idea of how people perceive certain things and how things from beyond the human capacity of seeing a giant pull up on the beach. And when you see the giant, you'll know what it looks like. It looks very similar to ourselves, but just seeing how people can be fascinated by one thing for a second, and as time goes by, something else is more interesting, and just seeing how it kind of dissipates and how our minds kind of shift and how our minds work as a humanity, and the self-discovery and discovering something new, and how, again, we just live in this timeline, in this real world where things just kind of are cool for a second, but then we kind of move on. This one was actually directed by Tim Miller, and it is brought to us by Blur Studios, and it was just a really great story. It was really fascinating. I love the voice acting. I love the animation in this one, and again, that giant was pretty cool, and just kind of seeing it unfold in that story was really, really fantastic. So that's my thoughts on all 8 episodes. The animation was gorgeous across the board. The stories were fantastic. The voice acting was fantastic, and I had a lot of fun in the Love, Death, and Robots universe. So again, we only got 8 episodes, but we will be getting another 8 episodes come 2020. It hasn't given us a release date, but they say they will be back next year, which gets me excited. So this brings me on to my top 5 episodes of Volume 2. Starting off with number 1. I got to go with All Through the House. Again, I'm a big horror fan, so I love horror. Mix in with comedy, mix in, one of my favorite holidays, which is Christmas. I thought that the design of Santa was fantastic. I love the kind of nods to some of those movies I mentioned, Jurassic Park, Aliens, Krampus, things of that nature. So that is my number 1 for Volume 2. Number 2 for me is Snow in the Desert. As I had mentioned, I love sci-fi. It reminded me of Mad Max. This kind of encompasses all the stuff, love, death, and robots. The hand-to-hand combat was fantastic. The story that was being told, how these two characters come together, bounty hunters, it was just fantastic to look at. So Snow in the Desert is my number 2. Number 3 is Pop Squad. Again, I just mentioned how the animation looked in Snow Desert. The animation in this one was fantastic. Yet again, Blur Studios, Blade Runner, life, death, immortality, reproduction. The style of this episode was just fantastic. So that's my number 3, which brings me to number 4, which was Ice. It was short, but it was so impactful because the animation was so gorgeous. Again, it reminded me so much of Zima Blue, and it just blows me away how people are able to put that type of animation on screen. It was so fantastic. And then last but not least, rounding out my top 5 is Drowned Giant. Again, this one was just so well put together. Tim Miller's direction, seeing that giant, seeing the curiosity of the townsfolk on the beach, but then as time kind of goes by, they kind of get, distracted by other things in life. I just thought it was just such a fantastic episode and just really well put together. So those are my top 5 episodes. Let me know your top 5 in the comments. And then last but not least, when I compared the two, again, 18 versus 8, I'm not gonna fault this volume for having less episodes, but when I look at my 5 favorite episodes from Volume 1, which was Shapeshifter, Zima Blue, Fish Night, Good Hunting, and The Witness, and I compare it to the top 5 of this episodes, I gotta go volume 1. Again, they're both fantastic, but I thought that volume 1 just had a little bit more impact, a little bit more to say about humanity, society, love, death, robots, a little bit more brutal nature to those episodes, definitely more death in those episodes, a little bit more, violence, a little bit more sexual, mature subject matter. So I think volume 1 was just a masterpiece, and I think that volume 2, even though it doesn't live up to the volume 1 for me, it's still a great, fantastic follow-up to an incredible volume 1, and I can't wait to see what they do with volume 3, because maybe they were wanting to put out 16 episodes, and obviously with volume 1 there were some things that I didn't like about volume 1. Not every episode was perfect, but I think when we get to volume 3, who knows, you might get back into that master class of volume 1. But like I said, don't get it twisted, volume 2 was still fantastic through and through. My top 5 episodes I love, but I personally think that volume 1 had a little bit more substance, and definitely more death, a little bit more robots, and definitely a little bit more love involved when it comes to the mature nature of volume 1. But like I said, volume 1, volume 2, still fantastic. I am such a fan of this series, love, death, and robots. I can't wait for volume 3. So that's my thoughts on volume 1, volume 2, excitement level for volume 3. But I want to know what you all thought of this new volume. Again, share me your top 5, your top 8. What did you think about this particular story, this particular season 2, part 2, volume 2? Also, what were some of your criticisms, if you have any? And of course, which one did you think was better, volume 1, volume 2? Let's discuss it all in the comments below. As always, make sure to like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss any of my other content. Hope you all are staying safe. Hope you all enjoyed this review. We'll see you in the next video.